You ever wonder how to take two shorter ropes and join them together to make a longer one? Well, wonder no more. You've come to the right video. Hello fellow CERT members, and welcome to this tutorial on how to join two ropes together to make a longer one. Ropes and knots have many uses in preparedness and disaster scenarios, but today we're going to focus on just one particular skill, but one that's likely to be needed often because there's usually no way to know ahead of time how long a section of rope you might need. Now you could carry a very long rope in your CERT bag, but that's not always practical, and you might need to join two ends of the same rope to make a loop. To follow along, you'll need two pieces of rope at least 3 feet long and preferably the same thickness. I'm going to use different colored ropes just so it's easier for you to see the pattern. Don't worry if both your ropes are the same color, you'll just need to pay closer attention so you don't get them mixed up. If you don't have any rope, use what you do have, such as shoelaces, twine, paracord, or even electrical wire. Do I really have to tell them to unplug it first? No, they're CERT people. Keep in mind that the thinner the material, the harder it will be to work with and to untie. In fact, you may actually need to cut the knot out if you snug it too tightly. Rope is definitely the way to go. So grab your gear and let's get started. So here are a few pictures of the knot we'll be learning today. It's commonly called a figure 8 bend. A bend is just a knot used to join two ropes. There are many ways to join ropes together, but the figure 8 bend is one of the most secure and not too difficult to learn even if you don't have much experience. The figure 8 bend may look intimidating, but something I often do with new knots is to work in reverse. So I'm going to untie it so we can break it down into smaller pieces, and from there we'll figure out what we actually need to learn to build it and put it back together. So once the ropes have been separated, you can see I'm left with one that has a figure 8 knot and another with just a straight end. So our first step is to learn to tie the figure 8 knot. Once we can do that, we're just left with weaving the two ropes back together to form the bend. To form a figure 8 knot, I want to start with about 12 to 14 inches of rope. And then I want to take the end of the rope and I want to form a complete loop like this so that the end of the rope is pointing right at me. Once again, I'm just going to put a bend in the rope, put a loop around it so that it's coming right back towards me. You should see a little bit of a complete collar of this strand of the rope around this long end. From here, I'm just going to poke that end down through that loop, and there's my figure 8 knot. Okay, very classic pattern, symmetrical on both sides. Let's try it one more time, just a little bit faster. Take the rope, create a bend in the rope, loop it all the way around, and then take the end and just poke it up through. Now if your knot doesn't look like this, undo it and try again before you go on to the next step. You also want to make sure that you have at least a palm's width of extra tail. To tie the figure 8 bend, I want to make sure that my figure 8 knot is a little loose. Remember, I'm going to be weaving this red rope up through that yellow rope, and I'm going to need a little bit of space. To form the bend, I'm just going to take the red rope, and I'm just going to follow along this strand of the yellow rope through every twist and turn in the figure 8 knot until it comes out the other side. Now, it may be useful for you to look at a picture of the figure 8 bend if you get stuck, just to see if you're headed in the right direction. So I'm going to follow this strand all the way up and through. Now make sure you give yourself some slack when you pull this through, because as I start to follow the yellow rope, I'm going to run out of rope pretty quickly. That's actually a very common mistake when you're first learning. So you're always better off having a little bit of extra rope, because if you don't have enough, you're going to have to untie it and start over. And then from here, I'm just going to follow that yellow rope all the way around. Until it comes out that final loop on the other side, just like so. Double check, have at least the palm's width of the red rope. Notice that my knot is a little bit loose. We'll want to dress the knot before we actually use it for its intended purpose. Dressing just means we're going to make sure all the strands are oriented correctly, that there's no unnecessary overlapping, and preload it by tugging on all the ends. So my knot looks pretty good. All the strands are oriented correctly. There's no unnecessary overlapping. For example, like this. You can see that's not a very pretty pattern. We have this overlapping here. So to preload it, I'll just grab both ends on both sides of the knot and pull. You can also grab each individual strand and pull against each strand on the other side of the knot. Now this bend is complete and the knot is secure and ready to use. This isn't normally the first knot I would teach in a beginner class, but I really wanted you to leave this presentation with a useful skill and hopefully a desire to dig deeper into rope and rigging. If you don't have a lot of experience at tying knots, you may feel a little intimidated right now. Just keep practicing, and like with any skill, it'll start to feel more natural. Thanks for watching.